Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a betting perspective. With pro sports handicappers, Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and various guests from the world of hockey and sports betting. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys, Saturday, January 4th. Ian Cameron and Alex B. Smith with you. A huge Saturday slate, as it always is, of course, ready to break things down. We're going to get to the recap in a moment. We do have Rangers Capitals starting. The only thing I bet was a small Capitals team total, around plus 104, over 3.5. That's about it. Like I said, with the Rangers, we talked about this briefly yesterday. Rangers haven't won 2 in a row in a very long time. And really, it was Jonathan Quick, more so than the team, that kind of won them that game the other night against the Boston Bruins. So I still think there's another gear the Rangers are going to have to play today if they're going to beat Washington. We'll see how this one goes. They're dropping the puck in just a few moments. Alex, Rangers Capitals, final thoughts?
Yeah, didn't jump in pregame. Like I said, I saw that number being around 125 for the first period over, so I'm just going to wait for that to cross in the plus territory and hit that literally in the next few minutes. So.
All right, good stuff. On we go to the recap, actually, from last night. And even though it was a small card, it was a very interesting card. Pittsburgh and Florida, they go to a shootout last night, and the Florida Panthers get a 3-2 win over the Pittsburgh Penguins in that game. I still think Florida's not playing their best right now, but they found a way to win. Quality. And what's really great coming out of that game from a Florida standpoint, which you got to be really excited about, Spencer Knight. That was one of the best games he has played since his return to the team following his absence, to take care of his mental health. And boy, oh boy, he was really strong. That's one of the better games I've seen from Spencer Knight. And don't forget what a highly thought of prospect this guy was when he came onto the scene. So for him to have that kind of a start's a very positive, no doubt, and a nice 3-2 win there for Florida last night. The Chicago Blackhawks, look, obviously embarrassed, humiliated, ashamed about the Winter Classic performance in that game, and wanting to make amends for it. And classic spot maybe to be weary of Montreal, coming off the 3 straight wins against Tampa, Florida, Vegas, heavyweights, and then Montreal, of course, trap spot. That's really what it was. And but at the same time, Chicago played a pretty good game. They got great goaltending from Arvid Soderblom, who had a really strong showing in net. It's one of those deals where it shows Montreal had 40 shots. I don't think all of them were quality, to be honest with you. I still think Chicago played pretty solid game. They got that early power play goal to really get them going with the extended 5-on-3, and Chicago gets a 4-2 win there over Montreal. Alex cashes his first period over, which was his best bet. I had a piece of that as well. We pushed the full game, which we warned you about. We did like the goals more early than later in the game, and Chicago gets a 4-2 win there. Ottawa gets blanked by St. Louis. My read goes down the drain with thinking Ottawa was going to have a decent start after their captain was not too thrilled with their performance against Dallas. But credit to the Blues, man. I mean, that was such an easy game for them to kind of slough off and not play well, coming off the Winter Classic and playing so well against Chicago and all the pomp and circumstance that goes with the Winter Classic. And for them to show that focus, drill an Ottawa team that's had a pretty good road trip, 4-0, shut them out. Binnington was solid. How about Brandon Saad turning back the hands of time with a hat trick last night? So St. Louis continues to play good hockey and has put themselves in playoff contention since Jim Montgomery arrived on the scene. Edmonton with a 3-2 win against Anaheim as the over falls short for me. So unfortunately, the best bet streak ends at 8. That means we'll try to start a new one starting today, but the Edmonton Oilers with a 3-2 win over Anaheim. They found a way to get the job done. Obviously, the late goal from Draisaitl to give them the win in that game was a pretty solid, tidy defensive effort from the Oilers, so give them credit there for that 3-2 win. And, Nashville shutting out Vancouver 3-0. I mean, the shots were 27-19 Vancouver, but they didn't really feel like they were that threatening with a lot of their offensive chances. Definitely looked like a team that was, stuck in the mud a little bit. We talked about how they were in Seattle the night before. Obviously still without Pettersson and Hughes. And they're going to have nights like that offensively, especially without those two guys. Pettersson, offensive player more so than anything else. And, of course, Hughes, who drives the offense from the back end with that puck movement. And without those guys, there's going to be some dry nights for Vancouver offensively, and they had one last night. Credit, though, to Lankinen, did everything he could to keep Vancouver in that game. I thought he was great. He made a couple of highlight reel saves to keep Vancouver in that game, but the Nashville Predators end up just scoring enough. Stamkos gets the one goal, and then 2 empty netters after that to put it away for the 3-0 win there for the Nashville Predators in that one. Alex, any thoughts you had on Friday?
Yeah, well, I'm obviously I watched most of that Blackhawks and Montreal game, and that was a big win for the Hawks. He said coming off of what was a disappointing effort. I mean, universally mentioned as a disappointing effort, in the Winter Classic, and to have, like I said, that fast start, got what we needed in the first period. They needed that late Montreal goal, not only cashing that best bet with the first period over, but both teams to score as well. So that was a nice one to grab. And Arvid Soderblom played once again one of his best games of his career. We've said this maybe 4 or 5 times this season. He's now up to 12 wins in his career. He's played astronomically well when you compare it to how he looked the first 2.5 seasons of his career. But we have to pump the brakes. I saw some of the craziest shit posted last night. I saw people trying to compare him to Corey Crawford. I saw people saying that this was the best Hawks goaltending game they've seen since Crawford was in a Hawks uniform. Scott Powers wrote today in The Athletic saying that he deserves a shot now as the #1 goalie, and that he, would probably lend to being extended because he's such a great guy in the locker room. We need to stop it. We need to stop it. This guy has made great leaps and bounds from where he was 2 years ago, but in no way is he now all of a sudden ready to be a #1 goaltender in this league. Okay, this is a trial by fire because Peter Mrazek's been a bum for 8 years, and now he's finally hurt again. And then Laurent Brossoit, who was supposed to be the saving grace in net, apparently his knees just started to give out. Now we don't know when the hell he's going to be back to playing in a Hawks uniform at all, or if he's going to be playing this season. So it's just insane that we're just jumping to conclusions. We were talking about this off air here about how we talk about these top 10 forwards and defensemen that get drafted and they get rushed into everything. And Connor Bedard all of a sudden has to be Patrick Kane 2.0. And we talked about all the stuff with Lafreniere and Taco and waiting for those guys to grow and develop. They just throw them right in the NHL level. But goalies take all this time and seasoning in the AHL. Every single goalie. Drew Commesso, we've been hearing about him for 5 years. How long do we hear about Devin Levi? They rushed him in right away. And then, now he's just hanging around, floating around in the AHL forever. UPL is the same thing, 4 years in the AHL. You go back all these years, maybe some goalies should be moved up a little further. We talk about all these things. Look at Detroit, for example, all the bums they signed at the beginning of the year, and yet they've got these 2 prospects. They're waiting in the wings. How long do you have to wait for a goalie? But yet we don't give any credit to any forwards or defensemen who have to jump in 18, 19 years of age and be right in there, #2 defense slot, top 6 forward right away. It's really unfair, and I believe that there's some goalies who deserve to have time seasoning in the AHL, and there's some goalies that may be ready to be moved up to the NHL. And I'm saying that in the fact that, we shouldn't rush the judgment. Same thing that happened in Colorado with the Blackwood signing. That was a complete rush to judgment, signing him for 5 years. What has he done in his whole career that suggests he's going to play as well as he did the first 2 weeks in Colorado for 4 more seasons after that? So that was my biggest takeaway, is that people just need to really temper their expectations with some goalies, and with other goalies, maybe we should get kicking a little bit, because if you look at the league, it's just a bunch of mid-range goalies, and we're trying to, just find a lump of charcoal and turn it into a diamond. And you just can't rush that sometimes, but with others, they might be ready sooner than you think.
Yeah, it's just funny. You're right. That's a great point that they take their sweet time bringing these forwards and defensemen into the big club, to the NHL level, but they can't wait to throw the goalies into the pressure cooker right away and into the fire and try to get their career and try to make them into the loftiest of heights, right away. And it doesn't always work that way. There's no doubt. Sometimes patience is required, especially in the goaltending position. So, like I said, going to be interesting to see if not only Soderblom can continue to play well, but more importantly, Chicago, because I heard all the great things from Nick Foligno after the game saying it's a new year now. We're going to bring back the Blackhawk hockey that you guys deserve. Well, let's see it now. It's one thing, action speaks louder than words. I don't doubt it from him. I'm talking about the rest of the team. We got to see it from them consistently on a night in and night out basis moving forward. And that's going to be the question. Great first step after to wipe the taste of that debacle out of your mouth in the Winter Classic, but keep it going. Don't take one step forward, 2 steps back again, and lose the next 2.
And we talk about players who we could see moving on after their careers as being coaches. Nick Foligno is a guy who I could easily see. I would love for the Hawks to keep him on as soon as he's done playing. Keep him on and make him an assistant coach right away. I think he has the chops to be not only a head coach in this league, I think a good head coach in this league.
No question about that. He definitely, I think, has got coach material written on perfect for a coach. Great communicator, leader, leads by example. Leader as a player, he can be a leader as a coach. No question about that. And I think
understanding but firm. He has all the makings of a good coach. Every time I hear him speak after a game or in between a game, I'm just more and more impressed by him, honestly.
Yeah, no doubt. It's been, and certainly was impressed by him last night. I mean, he was the guy driving that bus last night for the Chicago Blackhawks in that victory for sure. We're going to try to drive the bus now toward some profits here on this Saturday slate. And one thing I do want to mention, I think the Ice Guys whammy or curse or kibosh came into effect for Matty Robinson and his Reno team last night because we promoted that FDNY game. And I think I heard when that game ended and it ended up 5-0 FDNY that it was like the second time in history they'd been shut out at home. And I'm like, oh boy. So I'm like, on the night we promote the hell out of this game here for Matt and his team and they get shut out at home. So we put the whammy on Matt. Sorry, Matt. Apologize for that. But
I'm sorry about that, but it was a fun thing to watch. I watched about the first 2 periods of it, and we were all laughing about that commercial they've got with the brewery.
Oh, it was hilarious. That was awesome, man. That was
really good. Yeah,
that was.
Yeah,
Matt was in it. A lot of the players were in it from his team, and it was great. I just laughed at the baseball line. Can we put the baseball game on? It's just no. Yeah, no, it's not happening. Yeah. And then putting someone asking for a glass of water, they use the water bottle, squirt it in his mouth instead of.
It's a really good. We'll have to see if we can get a hold of that clip. We can try and play it on an episode one day. That's a pretty good one. So.
Yeah, it was good. But like I said, but Matt and the Reno Ice Raiders do get a chance at redemption tonight because they play FDNY again in Reno tonight. So see if they have a little better success this time around. I'll tell you who's going to be looking for a little better success this time around: the New Jersey Devils. Boy, this has not been a good road trip for them out west. They'll be looking to salvage one game at least here against the San Jose Sharks. We've got New Jersey minus 400 road favorites here in this game. The total sitting at 6 across the board. Obviously, we've got to point out the fact that we've got the system play in effect here as far as this game is concerned. New Jersey off a shutout loss, obviously, in their last game. Against the LA Kings 3-0. That was the one game that was on New Year's Day. They've now lost 3 in a row. And like I said, in the first 2 games of this California swing, New Jersey has lost to both Anaheim and San Jose. They will look to bounce back here. I certainly wouldn't want to get in New Jersey's way. It's just a question of how are you going to attack it with a minus 400 favorite. That's the question. Meanwhile, you've got San Jose off a 2-1 win against the Tampa Bay Lightning. San Jose snapping a 8-game losing streak in the process, but can they follow that up is the question. Talking about a San Jose team that has not been able to string multiple wins in a row together since the end of November, and that's going to be something they'll be looking to do here in this game. I'd sprinkled on a New Jersey first period puck line in this game. New Jersey team total over 3.5 a little bit, but most of my bet here is the bifecta. Over 1.5, over 6 in this game. It's the system play. Now, the one thing that I'm fearful of is a Yaroslav Askarov sighting. He was very good against Tampa Bay. I think he's been more. He had the great game against Edmonton, I remember. Although I'm seeing that they may go to Georgiev, at least at the moment. I'm seeing some sites projecting that Alexander Georgiev will get a start. And I think it's a situation where if Georgiev gets the start, certainly it's going to make the over bifecta a lot more appealing, and the Devils team total probably a lot more appealing. But I'm starting to see that it might be Georgiev, and they might be looking at this as a situation where we don't want to put Yaroslav Askarov in there 2 games in a row. They kind of want to pace him, and not, make him start multiple games in a row. We'll see if that's the case here today, and they go with Georgiev instead. Certainly it's going to make these bets stronger for me, but either way, I'm on it. It's the system play. It's been good overall, and I think we're going to see, obviously, a chance for this to cash once again, as Logan Thompson, just serving up a late Christmas gift to the New York Rangers, just gave the puck away, and Kreider buried it. So 1-0 Rangers in that game. Alex, what do you think here? Devils, Sharks.
I just got plus 160 right before that goal scored on the over 1.5. So really happy about that. But yeah, this is a game I'm not touching the side at all, obviously, with this kind of a wacky inflated number. I don't like the draw, but I will be going with that over by effect, especially if it is Georgiev and Netton. What a novel concept, huh? Maybe don't give a guy so many games in a row. I'm sure Georgiev had to be delighted to know that he's on a team now where he can actually get some rest in between starts, unlike Colorado. But with that being said, he still hasn't panned out to be anything of what he looked like at his heyday with Colorado. He still needs to get things gearing up. And he's the number 2 goalie, right? That's the thing you wanted from him here in San Jose. Now you don't have to run Askarov into the ground either. But I don't think he's going to be able to do much here. I like the overs. First period over and full game over. I'm going to grab them now.
Yeah, no doubt. By the way, even the puck line is New Jersey's had a good, especially off the shutout loss. New Jersey's been very good at not only winning but winning by margin the next game. But I don't, it's unfortunately it's like minus 140 with the puck line. There's a lot of good props in this game because you got players left and right, basically facing their former team. You've obviously got Tyler Toffoli, a former Devil with the Sharks. Zetterlund, a former Devil with the Sharks. You got Timo Meier on the other side, former Devil, former Shark with the Devils. So there's a lot of good props to consider. Meier and Zetterlund and Toffoli are definitely 3 players that stand out here if you buy into the former player angle here in this game, no doubt. Nikolai Kovalenko, the guy they got from, or I should say it's Colin Graff with Will Smith and Macklin Celebrini. I think there's a little value with all 3 of those guys. And Colin Graff is one of those players that I think, is going to be able, I think, to chip in a little bit at this level. He's been a good American League player playing with Celebrini. Celebrini is already so good. He's making his line mates better. So, I think Colin Graff playing with Macklin probably has a little bit of value as well for the Sharks as far as goal prop in this game. All right, we move now. That's the only other afternoon game. Everything else is at night, starting with Detroit and Winnipeg. We've got the Winnipeg Jets minus 200, home favorites, 5.5 the total in this game. 4-0 over first period, 4-0 over full game for the Detroit Red Wings since the coaching change. Since Todd McClellan's been the head coach, we've seen a major uptick in pace and energy from this team. Certainly their offense is humming again. They have been able to fill it up against Pittsburgh, Washington, and Columbus. Their last 3 games, 4 goals or more for this Detroit Red Wings team. Now, the question is, can they keep that going here against a very good Winnipeg defensive team? And obviously Hellebuck, who's had a terrific season. But they've got their offensive mojo back, and the old veterans who have been kind of disappointing this year, like Patrick Kane and DeBrincat, are even starting to step up here for Detroit of late. You got Winnipeg, though, coming off the loss to Anaheim, where pretty surprising. They were up 3-2. Anaheim ties it, and then Anaheim beats them in overtime. So I've been on Detroit. I'm back on them again, but I'm keeping it small just because of the price. I'm worried about running up against a Winnipeg team off the loss to Anaheim, looking to bounce back here. That's the only fear I have. But, to me, Detroit has really shown a lot more aggressiveness offensively. There's still work to be done at the defensive end, and obviously their goaltending is still, a work in progress, to say the least. Night to night, you're not always sure what you're going to get. Alex Lyon is projected, and as I mentioned, Hellebuck confirmed. So I would say if you haven't been riding Detroit, as I have, may not be the best spot to jump in and bet them, especially with Winnipeg coming off the loss to Anaheim the other night. But I am going to take a small shot with Detroit plus 170 at this price. But I like the over by Fecta here. We're going to keep riding it with Detroit until proven otherwise. And if anything, I would expect Winnipeg offensively to come out firing with their coming off the loss to Anaheim. So first period over, 1.5, full game over, 5.5 for me here with Red Wings and Jets. Again, 4-0, first period, full game overs for the Red Wings since the coaching change. Alex, what do you think here, Red Wings, Jets?
Yeah, I'm riding that over by factor, and I'm actually going to be doubling up on this. So I'm betting it pregame, but I'll be looking to add a little as it crosses in the plus territory, in game as well. So first period over and full game over. It might even sprinkle a little bit on that both teams to score, making the trifecta.
I Come on. There we go. I have a problem unmuting the mic. Yeah, Andrew Kopp, call a cop. Yeah, Andrew Kopp going back to Winnipeg. No argument there. I think it's worth a shot. Again, he hasn't had a great offensive season here for the Detroit Red Wings, but again, going back to Winnipeg, he's worth a look given that angle. Gabe Vilardi's been tremendous. We've talked about that over and over again for Winnipeg. When this guy starts to feel it, you just ride it, you roll with it. And certainly you could see him find the back of the net potentially here for the Winnipeg Jets in this game. So those are definitely some of the prop standouts. Veleno's got value with Larkin and Raymond as well, playing on that top line. And I keep saying Jonathan Berggren, someone to keep an eye on, who has been starting to percolate here the last handful of games for Detroit as well. All right, Boston-Toronto, original 6. Rivalry renewed. Leafs -150, home favorites, 6 the total here in this game. And the big news for the Leafs is Austin Matthews finally making his return to the lineup for the Toronto Maple Leafs. He will indeed be playing tonight in this game against the Boston Bruins. Much welcomed return for Toronto fans who were starting to get frustrated with just the starts and stops he was having in trying to come back. Looks like they're going to reunite him with Mitch Marner and Matthew Nyes, put that line back together. Tavares, Nylander, Pacioretty. Looks like that's going to be your top 6 for the Leafs tonight going into this game. The Bruins are off back-to-back road losses to the Capitals, which is no shame in that. The Rangers 2-1 in their last game. Yeah, a little bit of shame in that, losing to the New York Rangers in that last game. We'll see if they can bounce back. This is a team with an 8-12 road record going up against a Toronto team that is 15-7 at home. We'll see how they fare here. Boston has owned Toronto in the playoffs, certainly. And even in the regular season, Boston was getting the better of Toronto more often than not, including an overtime win in Boston early in the season. But Toronto finally, gave it back to Boston the last time these teams played. 4-0 win over the Bruins back in November. We'll see how they fare here in this one. I grabbed a little Toronto here. Nothing significant, but it was below -150 at -142 when I jumped on the Leafs a little bit. I just think with they're trying to build a little rhythm here, trying to build on a little bit of a run here in the new year. I certainly like the way their goaltender, Joe Woll, has played the last 2 games. It's been phenomenal. Those 2 Islander games, those were tight, low-scoring games, and Joseph Woll had to be really strong and make a couple of really good saves in those games, and he did that for the Toronto Maple Leafs. So I like his game right now in net. He's certainly making the most of this opportunity to be run with the net, if you will, as the number 1 with Anthony Stolarz still out. So a little bit for me on Toronto here, -142. We have seen a lot of overtime games between these 2 teams, so could you sprinkle on the draw? Those have been a lot more so in Boston than in Toronto, but it doesn't mean it can't happen here tonight. The draw could be in play. Alex, what do you think here with Bruins Leafs?
I think the draw is in play, and I bet that. I grabbed +340 at BetMGM earlier this morning. Like I said, Wall's been playing well, and I think Boston realizes that they're going to have to muck things up. We saw the last 2 games have gone well under the total. I would maybe even lean toward that. If we can get a goal early in this contest, I would look for a lot of under. But I definitely think this one could go past 60 minutes. So +340 is the best price available over at MGM. I'm on the draw.
All right, the draw. I don't mind the draw either. And by the way, the 2 Leaf games against the Islanders, they were very close to going to overtime. I mean, Toronto had to withstand, the extra attacker of the Islanders in the game in Long Island, and even the game in Toronto against the Islanders. It was an empty net goal from the Leafs that put it away. But those 2 games were very close to going to overtime. And like I said, we've got a series history where regular season wise, and even in the playoff series last year, 2 of the games went to overtime as well. So it's just going to be one of these close, tight games. It usually is with Bruins versus Leafs, and it wouldn't shock me if it's more of the same here tonight. Brazo, Coyle, prop considerations in my opinion, on the Boston side of the equation, no question. And then for Toronto, I think with the lines kind of going back to the way they were when we last saw Austin Matthews, It's still going to take him, maybe a game or two, and maybe that line a game or two to get their rhythm and chemistry back. Pacioretty, I think, has a little value on the second line. And like we've talked about for a long time now, the McMahon, Domi, Robertson line, don't be scared to take your shot with those three guys. And of course, McMahon with the 2 goals against the Islanders the other night. He's playing. That whole line's been great since they were put together, and it's no wonder they've stayed together because of how well they have played. All right, Minnesota, Carolina. We've got Carolina minus 220, home favorites, 5.5 being the total in this game. Carolina, not good on the road. Obviously, they've been very good here at home, 14-4, but they did finally get a road win against Florida, 3-1. Now they return home to face Minnesota, coming off a 4-3 shootout win over the Washington Capitals in their last game. We'll see how this one plays out. Last year, these teams played, of course, just twice because they're in the opposing conferences. Minnesota actually won here in Carolina, and Carolina won in Minnesota. So the road team won both of those games. Gustafsson and Kochetkov in net. Carolina's really good at home. I don't want to lay minus 220 against Minnesota, though. And Minnesota just keeps on, like, without Kaprizov, I'm impressed with what I've seen. And Spurgeon now as well. And for them to beat Washington in a shootout and come back to do it, they're showing a lot of guts right now, the Minnesota Wild. And they've been a good road team. And I don't think I want to go against that in a price range like this. So, it kind of feels like Carolina's got to try to get wins going, string wins together, back home where they played their best. I think they do win, but gosh, laying this price against Minnesota, I'm not doing it. I'm not going to do it. Minnesota's had a real tough mental and physical approach to the game lately, even with some adversity, even with losing Kaprizov and Spurgeon getting the slew foot at the hands of Zachary Leroux of Nashville earlier this week. So I just don't like the price enough to go against the way Minnesota's been playing their tails off in spite of some of these key absences they've been dealt. What do you think here, Alex? Minnesota, Carolina.
Yeah, it's another game where I really like the draw. I grabbed this at plus 320. Bet Online actually had the best price available this morning. And you got, Carolina, like I said, been in a lot of games on the road, now coming back home. And like I said, a Minnesota team that's been playing well, despite all the injuries they've had throughout this entire season. Like I said, it baffles me that we literally projected every player that would get hurt during the season preview. They've all been hurt. They've all missed extended time, and this Wild team continues to win. So it's one of those games where I feel like it could be really close. I like the goaltending matchup here as well. So at 320, I like the draw here at this.
Yeah, Gostisbehere is still out, and that matters for Carolina offensively, especially. He's been a good component he's been producing the points. He's been playing big minutes on the power play, and that's someone you miss. And I think this also affects their totals. Carolina had been on, especially on the road, a decent little overrun for a bit, but losing Gostisbehere on the back end, one of your mobile puck movers on the back end, and a power play quarterback, you could see this team, and we saw it against Florida the other night. What was it, 3-1? Kind of back to that Rod Brindamore type of Carolina hockey where it's a low score. I could see that being the case here in this game with Gustafsson and Kochetkov as well. So I agree with that draw. It's probably worth a look.
And back-to-back road games have gone past regulation for Minnesota as well.
Exactly. So, yeah, the draw makes sense. I'll probably sprinkle on that here as well. Prop-wise, not too much here, I would say. Ryan Hartman is someone maybe, when he scores in a game, sometimes you just start to see a little short-term bump from him. Maybe that does happen for him. So if he scores again today, it's maybe someone you're going to want to look toward moving forward after that. For the Carolina Hurricanes, we keep talking about just how an unsung hero he's been. Jack Roslovic, 3 goals in the last 3 games. He's now up to 17 on the season for this Hurricanes team. I think always worth a look with what we're getting offensively from him right now, no doubt. All right, Montreal and Colorado. We've got the Avs minus 310, home favorites, 6.5 the total here in this one. The first thing that stands out about this game is Montreal's been on the road for a very long time now. They were in Chicago last night. And before that, of course, they were in Vegas. They've had a long, winding road. Tampa and Florida before that, then to Vegas, then to Chicago. Now you're going all the way back to the West. So you think about it, East time zone, all the way to the Pacific time zone, to the Central time zone, and now back to the Mountain time zone. And you're playing Colorado, less than 24 hours after that game ended against Chicago last night. And you got to make that turnaround from Chicago to Colorado. It was a 8 p.m. Eastern game last night. It's actually a 7 p.m. Eastern start time tonight with Montreal and Colorado, 5 p.m. in Denver. So very, very challenging circumstances thrown at Montreal by the schedule makers here in this game. The one little hang up that I have, because it feels like this could be a spot where Montreal kind of showed it last night, just a little bit jet lagged, little road weary, is they might go to the kid who was phenomenal in his NHL debut against Florida, shut out the Panthers, Jakub Dobeš, who I have now seen in the preseason and in that Florida game, and he looked great in both times. He's looked great, and again, not a great book on him from opponents when they're trying to scout this guy either. So that's the only hang up, but it does feel like a tough spot for Montreal. And if they're struggling defensively with and sometimes, when physical and mental fatigue creeps into your game, that's when the mistakes happen. Is Dobeš going to be that kind of a goalie to bail them out? Maybe. But, one thing I can't deny is Colorado offensively. They're as healthy as they've been up front. We've talked about how, Lehkonen and Drouin are back now. The only one they're missing is Big Val Nichushkin. And other than that, and Landeskog will, they hope, be back at some point. But they've certainly gotten healthier up front. They're probably in their best offensive rhythm of the season. During the 6-game win streak, Colorado scored 4 goals in every single game, 4 or more during this win streak. They've got a grand total of 28 goals in their last 6 games. This Colorado team. So there's no doubt they are feeling it at the offensive end of the ice. Will that continue here is going to be the question. Montreal has actually beaten Colorado in both meetings last year. Montreal won 4-3 in Montreal, 2-1 in Colorado. Very interesting to see that. I'm going to go with this over by Fekta here, even with my concern is Dobeš, because I think this kid has looked great in the 2 times I've seen him, preseason and that one regular season NHL debut against Florida. But he's also going to have to face a lot of rubber, I get the sense tonight, because of just how tough a spot this is for Montreal. Can he hold up against it? If he does and he stands on his head, 42 saves, and it's a 2-1 game, I'll salute him and say, well done. But I think it's a tough spot. I'll go over by Fekta here in this game with Montreal and Colorado. It's just tough from a side perspective because it's not a shit ton of value with Colorado. Even if you like the team total, you got to lay minus 160 or more on it. Not exactly a great price. So, like I said, I like over by Fekta, but this Dobeš kid's been pretty good. And for that reason, I'm going to lay off anything Colorado in this game, even though the spot screams Colorado, clearly. What do you think here, Alex? Habs, Avs.
Now, I'm going to take advantage of this and go with Colorado, everything early. So I'm going Colorado first period on the 3-way money line. That's plus 105 at FanDuel. And I'm also going with that first period correct score stack. So 1-0 Avalanche plus 410, 2-0 Avs plus 750, 2-1 Avalanche at 10-1. That's the way I'm going to be playing. I think, like I said, I think Montreal could just be in for a long night. So I'll probably grab a little bit at full over 6.5 as well. I'll do that a little close to the pregame, but definitely rolling with the first period stack with the Colorado.
Yeah. If this schedule wasn't so bad, I think like Montreal's been able to punch up in their weight class lately. Beating Tampa, beating Florida, and beating Vegas tells me that they've got the opportunity maybe to beat a good Colorado team as well. But it's just the scheduling dynamics are just so ramped up against them. And that's becoming a big time concern right now. There's a lot of good goal props here. Lehkonen against his old team, for Drouin against his old team. Those are good looks for Colorado. There's no doubt as far as goal props for them here. And Alex Newhook for Montreal. He's facing his old team too. He came from Colorado to Montreal. So those are all good goal prop looks. I'm going back to 2 Canadian players. Now, Jake Evans, maybe we need to get off the train here because he's finally started to cool off a bit, but someone that isn't cooling off, and he scored last night for them, and it was a hell of a hand-eye coordination, beautiful bit of work by him, Emil Heineman, who is on that 4th line right now for Montreal. Great value for Emil Heineman. He has been suddenly chipping things in offensively for Montreal from that 4th line, so keep an eye on him. I think his goal prop is probably worth a look tonight in this game as well. Nice goal from him last night against Chicago. All right, St. Louis and Columbus. We've got the Blues minus 120, road favorites, 6 being the total here in this game. We've got St. Louis here on a back-to-back. They're only 1-3, St. Louis, on a back-to-back this year. But I like the way this team is playing. Is this the spot now after the Winter Classic? You shut out Ottawa. Is this a spot now where we should be weary of St. Louis? Maybe, but I like the way they're playing, and I don't want to step in front of them right now. 4-1 their last 5 games. Back-to-back wins against Ottawa and Chicago. They beat Nashville and Detroit before that. But at the same point in time, Columbus, very feisty, not easy to beat here at home. A solid home record at Nationwide Arena. They did lose their last home game, but again, it was a tooth and nail type of game, back and forth, back and forth. They eventually, unfortunately, surrendered the go-ahead game-winning goal to Jonathan Berggren in the final minute of the third period to give the Detroit Red Wings the 5-4 win in that game. We'll see how this one plays out here, Blue Jackets and Blues, but the one thing I can tell you about Columbus is 5-1 over in the last 6 games. Series history, 7-2-1 to the over between these two teams, Columbus and St. Louis. Columbus has been, certainly trending over at home. You're seeing 5.5 at DraftKings. A couple books now have 5.5 with this total. So this is another over by Fecta lined up for yours truly here. And we probably will see Joe Hofer tonight for the St. Louis Blues on a back-to-back. We indeed will. It is confirmed. Joel Hofer for the Blues. Elvis Merzlikins for Columbus. Justin Falk also, I should point out, he was a scratch last night against Ottawa. Undisclosed absence, but may miss this game as well. So takes away a little bit from the Blues' depth on the back end. But, over by Fecta for me. I don't want to really go against either of these teams, though, right now. Columbus has been good enough at home. I don't want to fade them, especially with the rest advantage. But St. Louis playing great hockey. I'm not going against them either. So I'm sticking to just the over by Fecta here. Alex, what do you think, St. Louis, Columbus?
I'll be on the over by Fecta, but I'm betting the first period over now, minus 118 at FanDuel when I see best available. And then I'll be waiting for those 5.5 because I'm seeing 130, 135. I'll be waiting for those to drop into closer to a pick'em range.
All right, good stuff. Yeah, as far as goal props, I should say, for this one, just looking here on the Columbus side, where do we go? We've talked about Voronkov a lot. And Marchenko, they've been great. Kent Johnson on the second line, like I said, worth a look. Werenski's been shooting the puck quite a bit. For St. Louis, it's the usual suspects. It's Dylan Holloway I'm interested in, Zachary Bolduc. Brandon Saad gets a hat trick last night. I don't count on that every night from him. But last night we'll give him credit. Obviously,
I would stay away from him for the next 10 to 12 games, probably.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Sometimes when you get that kind of a night from Brandon Saad, it's a little quiet, a little dry at the offices for the next few games. All right, Utah and Dallas. We've got the Dallas Stars minus 180 home favorites here, 6.5 the total in this game. Dallas, I'll give them credit. Dallas for a little bit of time there was not playing their best. It's been better lately. They've been dialed in. They've been focused. They've taken care of business. They beat Chicago. They beat Buffalo, 2 teams they should beat. An Ottawa team that was playing pretty good on the road trip. They took care of them 4-2 and really stifled them and shut them down, giving up only 13 shots on goal to the Ottawa Senators in that game. You got Utah that beat Calgary 5-3 the other night. They'll look to turn it into 2 wins in a row here against the Dallas Stars. Dallas actually has already beaten Utah twice this year in Utah, 2-1 and 3-2. Looking to make it 3 in a row here over the Utah Hockey Club. I just don't trust Utah enough. And, I've lost a couple times going against Dallas with the big dog, Buffalo and Ottawa most recently. So I'm not lining up to go against Dallas a third time. So it's a pass for me, actually, honestly. Not a whole lot that I like here in this game. Alex, what do you think? Utah, Dallas.
Yeah, it's a pass for me as well. With a big card, like I said, there's a lot of other spots that I like, and nothing popped out to me for this game. So it's a pass.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, it just is that way. Marchment's still out for Dallas. Jake Ottinger in net for the Stars. Karel Vejmelka projected for Utah. And we'll see if he indeed is in net for them in this game tonight. Dodonov I like as far as goal prop for Dallas. As long as he stays on the top line, I think there's pretty damn good value on him currently right now. Been waiting and waiting for that Wyatt Johnston heater to start, and it is 3 goals in the last 4 games for Wyatt Johnston. I think as far as that's concerned, we're looking at I think it's worth a look here with his prop. Ride it because he's finally starting to heat up for them right now. All right, Tampa Bay, Los Angeles. We got the Kings minus 125, home favorites, 5.5, 6 being the total in this game. This LA team, man, I don't want to say I'm warming to them, but it's been pretty impressive now for a long period of time what we've seen from LA. They've been pretty good. They've had a great homestand so far, 3-0 with wins against the Oilers, Flyers, and Devils. They have one more game against Calgary on this homestand. Then they go to Western Canada after this for a mini road trip. They're playing really good at home. I cashed a ticket with them against New Jersey on New Year's Day. We'll see if they can make it 4 straight here at home in this game. But here's the problem that I have here with taking LA. We've got Tampa coming in off, they lost the final game of the homestand against Montreal. That was the game where Gensel was out. That was also the game where Jonas Johansson started in net instead of Vasilevsky. And then, of course, they had the game against San Jose where that was pretty lethargic from the Tampa Bay Lightning in that game. It was not a very pretty performance from them. We'll see if they keep things going here. But like I said, when you look at Tampa Bay, I thought they were pretty, I don't want to say lifeless, but it wasn't very good from Tampa Bay. They looked like the wet blanket was placed over them by San Jose, and they couldn't do anything about it. I'd expect now Tampa off 2 losses in a row. It's usually been one of these deals under Cooper where they stop the bleeding before they let a losing streak really get out of hand. And we do have the angle that we talked about multiple times earlier this season in play, the team off a loss to the San Jose Sharks. That has been a thing this year. Teams have been pretty good in this spot after losing to San Jose. So I'm thinking long and hard about Tampa Bay and moving to the Lightning at plus 105. I don't like going up against the LA home ice streak. They've been phenomenal at Crypto Arena. I'm not denying that. I mean, 13-2-1 is a hell of a home record for the LA Kings, but I just feel Tampa off the San Jose loss in particular. Teams have been good after losing to San Jose. I'm interested at least in Tampa plus 105, but I'm waiting to see who's in net here in this game. Could be a sneaky over too at 5.5. I think 5.5. I'm interested in an over in this game. We do have some series history that points that way. The game in LA last year was a 4-3 win in overtime for the Kings. The year before in LA, it was 4-2 LA. 6-4 LA. We've seen some high-scoring games in LA with these two teams. 6-2 to the over in the last 10 meetings. So at 5.5, I'm in with the over. I'm interested in Tampa Bay if Vasilevsky's confirmed. What do you think here, Alex? Lightning, Kings.
Yeah, I like this over by Fecta and grab the over 1.5 minus $1.20 along with that over 5.5 minus 122 available at DraftKings. I like the draw here. I grab that as well. And yeah. And I think this is going to be a sneaky good game. I think this could be one of the more entertaining games of the night. And there's a player that I have circled for my bargain bin a little bit later.
Yeah, no doubt. It's a good prop game too. There's a few that I'm interested in for props. I'm almost giving up on Alex Turcotte. Almost given up on him scoring, even though he's given him so many chances to bet player prop with him, goal prop with him because he's playing with Kopitar and Kempe on that top line for the LA Kings. But he hasn't scored in 6 games, only 4 goals on the season. I like Warren Fogle. We'll go back to the well with the Fogue Daddy. It's one of the best names going. It really is, the Fogue Daddy. How about Byfield? Byfield is really starting to click as well. He's got 5 goals for the Kings in the last 6 games. We know there's ultra talent there. So Quentin Byfield, I think, probably worth a look here tonight for the LA Kings in this game. And then for Tampa Bay, Connor Geekie, Brandon Hagel, Nick Paul, Mitchell Chaffee. I mean, Gensel, Point, and Kucherov are obviously the ones that the straw that stirs the drink, the line that stirs things for Tampa Bay. But if you're looking for that value, I think any of those players I just mentioned are definitely going to be worth a look here in this game. Like I said, LA 8 home wins in a row. I don't like going against that, but I do like Tampa off 2 losses. And I do like Tampa off a loss to San Jose. And teams off the loss to San Jose this year have been really strong. That angle has been undeniable. It's almost like that's a blow to your ego. You have to get some pride back, some self-respect back. I think some of these teams feel that way after they lose to the San Jose Sharks. And I think that helps to explain why that angle's been so strong this season. All right, we move now to that, by the way, is a 9 p.m. Eastern game, 6 p.m. locally in LA. So it's a weird start time, but just make note of that start time. Don't assume it's 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 Pacific, and don't get your bet in time. Bet in time. So make sure you're aware of that. 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific start time here for the Lightning and the Kings. The last 3 games of the card are all 10 Eastern, 7 Pacific starts in the late night hours. We've got Nashville and Calgary, pretty much even money both sides. The total sitting at 6 across the board. You know, I'm not Mr. Under, but man, if there's ever a game to bet under, it's this game, Nashville and Calgary. Nashville, I think, I don't want to say they've given up, with because I think they thought they'd be a hell of an offensive team coming into the year, but they're almost looking like a team, especially when they go on the road. They're okay winning a 3-1, 3-0 type of game like last night against the Vancouver Canucks. The only concern I would have is, you're going to get probably on the back-to-back here, Justus Annunen, who has definitely had his share of ups and downs, 3.02 goals against, .891 save percentage. The last time we saw him start for the Nashville Predators, it wasn't pretty. Gave up 5 goals and a 5-3 loss to the Minnesota Wild on New Year's Eve. So what are you going to get here from Annunen? I will say, though, against LA, he did play all right. Against Dallas, there was a 1-goal allowance in a win. So we know there's capability as well in him. We'll see if that's the case. But Dustin Wolf, our guy, hungry like the wolf. Dustin Wolf confirmed in net for Calgary. Not a surprise that he's back in between the pipes after, obviously, we saw Vladar against, not that it was all Vladar's fault that they lost to Utah, but we like Wolf a little bit more than Vladar, and that's why. So, and then you factor in Nashville's horrific back-to-back record this year, 1-5, the Nashville Predators on the second night of back-to-back games this year. I think there's a dirt cheap price on Calgary, quite honestly. I mean, what more does this team have to do to get a little respect, especially at home where they've played their best hockey this year? Dustin Wolf in particular has been awesome in this building at the Saddle Dome. His numbers overall are good. They're spectacular at home, Dustin Wolf, when he's gotten these home starts. So, yeah, I'm on Calgary here, -110. I think it's a good, really good price, quite honestly. I know Nashville gets the win last night, but again, back to this same song and dance with Nashville. How many times have they won multiple games in a row this year? Hasn't happened very often. So, tough spot. Don't really have a whole amount of trust yet in Justus Annunen, assuming he gets the start. So Calgary -110 to me, a good look, a way to go here. What do you think, Alex? Nashville, Calgary.
Yeah, there's actually a -106 available at FanDuel, but I'm right there with you on Calgary. Especially if we going goalie versus goalie, definitely give me Dustin Wolf versus Justus Annunen any day of the week. But like I said, especially at home, Wolf has been very solid. So give me the Flames here. Yeah, this a cheap enough price. Back them.
Yeah, and again, back-to-back here, a late game in Vancouver last night, and now headed to Calgary. Like I said, not easy. And again, just not enough consistency here from Nashville either. And like I said, I'm not a big under guy, but Dustin Wolf's not a goalie I'm betting overs with, especially at home right now. So, yeah, this is definitely one where I understand why the total's gone down here, 6.5 down to 6. As far as props, Huberdeau, man. Huberdeau's been rolling for Calgary. Definitely, I think, worth a look once again as far as a goal prop here in this game for the Flames. Yeah, that's definitely the one that stands out for them. For Nashville, not really. I don't know how much they're going to score tonight against Wolf, so I wouldn't go pepper the board with their goal props tonight. But like I said, they're kind of shaking up the lineup again. Zachary Leroux is obviously out due to the suspension. Novak's out, so you got Izzy Wiesblatt, Fedor Svechkov, on the bottom 6. So we got some new faces back there as well. They do like him, Fedor Svechkov, for what it's worth. He's going to be with Evangelista and Jankowski. He got 3 shots on goal last night against Vancouver. He had 5 goals and 12 points down in the American Hockey League. So I'll throw that out there. If you're going to go with someone for Nashville, why not? Maybe this kid gives them a little something from the third line, Svechkov here. For the Nashville Predators tonight. All right, we got 2 games left on the docket. Next up, Edmonton and Seattle. We've got the Edmonton Oilers -190, road favorites. The total sitting at 6.5 here. in this game. You got the Oilers off a 3-2 win against Anaheim last night. Not pretty, but they do avenge the loss in Anaheim to the Ducks last week. We'll see if they're able to build on that and string another win together here tonight against Seattle. Seattle team that is coming off a shootout loss to the Vancouver Canucks in their last game. What a roller coaster ride it's been for this Seattle team. They have the losing streak. They win 2 in a row. They come back to beat Vancouver. They beat Utah. Then they lose in a shootout to Vancouver the other night. Edmonton has dominated Seattle with 5 straight wins, but it is back-to-back for the Edmonton Oilers. And the Edmonton Oilers this year are 3-4, losing record for them on the second night of back-to-backs going into this game. You know, Seattle has not fared well with Edmonton. What I do like here a little bit here, because I'm going to assume it's Cal Pickard tonight for the Edmonton Oilers. Joey Decord, though, might be back for the Seattle Kraken. Of course, Philip Grubauer has had to start multiple games in a row. It's been a day-to-day absence due to an upper body injury for Joey Decord, and it's been lingering longer than they thought. That's why he's missed the last 3 games. But Dan Bilesma did say there's a chance at least Joey Decord's able to return here tonight for the Seattle Kraken in this game. So I'm waiting on that because that's the one thing that could sway me away from looking at an over. But Seattle's an over team again right now. If you actually look at the way they've been playing lately, the offense has started to come to life gradually. 5 straight games have gone over the total for Seattle. But again, I'm kind of waiting to see who's in net. I still might bet it over 6.5 here, even with Decord coming back, because again, the rust factor, the concern of knocked out of rhythm due to being out with this injury. That's something that could concern you about his performance tonight against Edmonton. So I'd still probably be interested in the over, but I think I would like it more with Grubauer than opposed to Decord. We'll wait to see who the goal, and certainly Pickard. Like I said, Pickard has kind of been trending a little bit downward some of his recent starts. If you look at Pickard, he gave up the 4 goals against Anaheim in his last start. He's given up 3 goals or more, majority of his recent starts as well. So I am interested in the over, but just waiting to see the goalie confirmations here. I'd be honest, I'm leaning to Seattle at this price. I mean, I think it's a tricky spot for Edmonton to be laying -190. And I just don't love the idea of stepping in front of the series history, which has been Edmonton dominant. But I do think at this price, Seattle is worth a small shot. Alex, what do you think here? Oilers, Kraken.
This being a late game, this will be one that I'll watch, and if I see something live, I'll jump in with. But I have nothing pregame for this one.
That's nothing wrong with that. There we go. I knew it was good. Jonathan Davis has it. There it is for Dustin Wolf at home. 1.97 goals against average, 10-1-1 record. I knew it was damn good. His numbers at home. That's can't do much better than that.
He's basically Kevin Lincoln, and Kevin Lincoln had that record on the road, and then it's Dustin Wolf at home.
Yeah, absolutely. No doubt. As far as goal props, I mean, I've mentioned, Kakko, Schwartz, Beniers. It's actually been a very good line lately for Seattle. Chemistry starting to develop. Don't mind any looks involving those 3 players tonight in this game. There is great value with Connor Brown because it looks like he is playing with the Nuge and Connor McDavid right now. Again, this is a guy that's only got 6 goals on the season. He hasn't scored in 7, but he's going to get that opportunity with Connor McDavid, which means ultra value as far as Connor Brown props here tonight in this game against the Seattle Kraken. All right, we go to the final game of this Saturday slate. The Buffalo Sabres had a Buffalo Sabres moment against Colorado, losing a game in indescribably painful Buffalo Sabres fashion in that game against Colorado. You're up 3-0, can't hold the lead. You're up 5-3 late. You can't hold the lead. Colorado comes back and gets the win. They will look to rebound here tonight in Vegas against the Golden Knights. Vegas -200 home favorites, 6.5 the total in this one. What do we get from the Buffalo Sabres? The big question here tonight, coming off that kind of a loss against the Colorado Avalanche. It was a weird game where it's almost like the incident and the injury to Scott Wedgwood really cranked up the Colorado Avalanche cause in that game, no question, because they came after the Buffalo Sabres from that point on, and they took it to them, and Buffalo was just hanging on for dear life, and unfortunately they could not hang on for 8 more seconds because that's the amount of time on the clock when Jonathan Drouin tied the game late in the third period. And then, of course, Tage Thompson, gets loses the puck at the blue line, and Devon Taves puts it away with a breakaway to win it in overtime for the Colorado Avalanche. Brutal loss for Buffalo. Can they recover from that? That's now 2 losses in a row following the 3 games they won in a row to break that 13-game losing streak. Vegas is off a 5-2 win against Philly. They are now 8-2 in their last 10 games, 15-4 at the Fortress. But here's an interesting thing for you. Do you know that Buffalo has beaten them here twice in a row? 2 years in a row. The Buffalo Sabres have gone into Vegas and won. Can that happen again here is the question. It is, I believe, for Buffalo, the end of this road trip. They finally do go back home against Washington. But usually you don't trust a team at the end of a road trip when you've had a great road trip. You've been stringing the wins together. You've been awesome. You've been obviously outstanding on the road trip. And then you have that final game and you kind of throw a clunker or throw a dud out there and you can't wait to get home. You've now lost 2 in a row, and you lost one in brutal fashion against Colorado. I get the feeling Buffalo plays hard tonight, shows up tonight. I'm going to take a flyer with them at plus 170. I am. I'm going to buy into this 2 wins in a row in Vegas. For Vegas, you look at they're rolling along nicely. The 5-2 win against Philly. I wish they were playing someone other than San Jose, I will admit, in their next game, Vegas. It's not like they're looking ahead to the Sharks or anything. But at plus 170, count me in. A little interest here in the Buffalo side in this game. And then as far as goaltending, it's looking like it's going to be UPL and Aiden Hill, but we haven't had confirmation of that just yet. Alex, what do you think here? Final game, Sabres, Golden Knights.
I can't trust Buffalo. This is a pass. That's the only reason. I just can't trust. If it was somebody else, like I said, this is spot wise. Yeah, I can see Vegas laying an egg here.
I know what I'm getting into. Trust me. You don't have to feel pity or worry for me. I know what I'm getting into.
I can't do it. I can't do it. It's a pass.
I get it. It's a great prop game, by the way, and I wanted to get into that. Jack Eichel always scores against Buffalo. I really, truly think he hates this franchise. So, I think Jack, they're still pissed about the whole neck situation, and they wouldn't let him get this and all that. That
makes sense.
But Jack Eichel, obviously, he always gets fired up to play Buffalo. Probably worth a look here. Does Alex Tuch get up to play Vegas? Former Golden Knight. He was also on the other end of that trade. Maybe you look in that direction. Here's what I like, though, for Buffalo. Benson, Quinn, and especially Zucker, man. Zucker is on fire with Cousins and Tage Thompson. Moved him up there, and it has paid extreme dividends for Lindy Ruff. And I got to give him credit for making this move because since Jason Zucker's been on that top line, he has become a goal-scoring machine lately for the Buffalo Sabres. So, Jason Zucker with the hat trick as well in the loss to Colorado the other night. So definitely a couple of props there that are worth a look, in my opinion. And Zucker, like I said, 5 goals in the last 3 games as well for Jason Zucker of the Buffalo Sabres. So again, there's a prop that's worth a look, in my opinion. Victor Olofsson, there's another former player angle here in the mix. He's now, of course, reunited with Jack Eichel in Vegas, but he used to be with the Buffalo Sabres. So there's someone you could maybe target for a goal prop. Brett Howden's been chipping in lately for Vegas. It's a pretty good prop type of game, actually. No doubt. 4 goals in 3 games for Eichel against the Sabres. Now, one of them was a hat trick, as Jonathan says, but still, I know he always gets amped up. You don't have to get Jack Eichel motivated to play the Buffalo Sabres. And that has been fully evident here in a lot of the recent games, no question. All right, there we have it. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Hit the like button. Appreciate it very much. Over 500 viewers right now live on all the platforms combined. That's awesome. Great to see the turnout from everybody on a Saturday. Great to see the turnout of members and subscribers signing up as well on our Patreon page, patreon.com/Ice Guys, just $10 per month. Goalie charts, totals charts, everyday sides, totals, player props, the betting card posted each and every day. And of course, this is our first month of the season with exclusive live betcasts for Patreon members only. We have 2 Patreon exclusive betcasts this month. January 14th, January 28th, and we have our free open to the public betcast sandwiched in between on January 21st. But 2 Patreon exclusive live betcasts. And for those 2 betcasts, the only way you'll be able to watch, the only way you'll be able to join the stream is being a Patreon member. So make sure you sign up. $10 per month. Your subscription goes a long way to supporting the show. We're closing in on 200 members. Make sure you sign up. $10 per month. Patreon.com/IceGuys.
And also check out the Ice Guys store, iceguys.myspreadshop.com. There's 3 days left to save 25% off. Start off 2025 with some new gear and new merch from the Ice Guys store. So take advantage of that. Go onto the website, click on the redeem button at the top of the page, add everything to your cart, and then we're taking out at checkout. That's 25% off for the next 3 days at iceguys.myspreadshop.com.
Great stuff. All right, let's wrap it up in just a moment. We got Bargain Bin Special of the night and Best Bets coming up in just a moment, right after we hear from our great Ice Guys sponsors.
Support for the Ice Guys podcast is provided by Boston Hemp Incorporated, Manscaped, Power Play Sportsbook, Raise Your Game, Tailgater Social, and a big thank you to all that subscribe to the Ice Guys Patreon page. Everyone loves a perfect pair. Bacon and eggs. Thunder and lightning. Mario and Luigi. A hot dog with fries. Ian and Alex B. That's right. Everyone loves a perfect pair. So why not pair up your game nights with Boston Hemp? From exotic flower to concentrates and edible products. You'd be hard-pressed to find a better pairing than Boston Hemp and hockey. Check them out today at bostonhempinc.com. That's bostonhempinc.com. Boston Hemp Incorporated, the official smoke sponsor of the Ice Guys. Void where prohibited by law. Not available outside of the United States. Must be 21 or over to obtain products. Check your local regulations to see if Boston Hemp is available in your area.
All right, shout out to all our Ice Guys sponsors, including Boston Hemp Inc. 20% off all orders on the website using the promo code IceGuys at bostonhempinc.com. Great comment by Timmy. I like the name, Timmy Two-Shoe. I've been live betting goal scorers. You can watch a game and see who's taking shots and get a. Yeah, I agree with that. 1,000%. Totally with you on that.
FanDuel's a great
we do
book
with
for
the
that.
betcasts. Yeah, you'll find out in the 3 betcasts coming up in January. I'll often look at live goal scorer props based on how aggressive they are, how active they are. Can I notice them on the ice? Are they getting to the net? You know, are they making an impact? And obviously, watching the game, you can find great looks live with goal scorers, 100%. Yep.
And you know what? We'll probably do that too, Ian. We need to update our primer. I know I have the main primer, but you can add some notes to it if you like on live betting for those who, like I said, every year we have new people come in and watch, and maybe you haven't been on a betcast before, maybe you haven't live bet before, even if you've watched the betcast. But we'll have some tips and some notes, and we'll have that on Patreon.com coming up in the next week to get everybody ready for the betcast coming up.
Absolutely. No doubt. I think that is definitely a good thing to do. Get people the tips of the trade, if you will, for live betting and get everyone ready. Because the betcasts are coming fast and furious for the rest of the season. We're talking 2-3 betcasts per month, the rest of the season. So we're excited about it, starting with this month here in January. And like I said, all the different things we look at with live wagering, and these are tried and true methods that work not all the time, but more often than not they do work, and it's the things we can help guide you with, no doubt, on the betcast. And the betting primer on the Patreon page for the live betcast, we'll definitely make sure to get that available to everybody. All right, bargain bin special of the night. Alex, what do you like in the bargain bin for Saturday?
Well, I'm wearing the Tampa Bay jersey for a reason, because I'm looking toward that game, Lightning and Kings. Like I said, I think it's going to be a fascinating matchup. And like I said, Tampa Bay, they need, get things back on the right track. And whenever that's the case, Nikita Kucherov stands and delivers. I like him to score twice tonight. Give me 2 goals. You can get plus 1,100 for that at FanDuel. So Nikita Kucherov will score not once, but twice for the Tampa Bay Lightning. It's my Saturday bargain bin special.
All right, there you go. 2 goals from Nikita Kucherov, and it kind of feels like they need a Point or a Kucherov, one of those guys to break out here for the Tampa Bay Lightning. We'll see if that is indeed the case. But yeah, Nikita Kucherov to get 2 goals for Alex B. Smith with his bargain bin special of the night. My bargain bin special here for this card, there's a lot of good choices. I am going to rock with a man that I talked about. Now, he's barely bargain bin worthy, but he is on the plus 300 threshold at DraftKings, Bet365, Bet Rivers, right on the nose, plus 300. Just makes the grade, but he's red hot for Buffalo. Jason Zucker right now playing on the top line. He's been great. What can you say? Plus 300. I think it's a really good price there for Jason Zucker, Buffalo Sabres. So that is what I'm going to rock and roll with tonight. Jason Zucker, Buffalo, plus 300. And that's a good prop game. There's a lot of good options, a lot of former player angles. Same with San Jose, New Jersey, the remaining afternoon game, the lone remaining afternoon game. There's a lot of good, former player angle goal props you can take a shot with in that game. But for me, Jason Zucker, Buffalo Sabres, plus 300 for my bargain bin special of the night. All right, best bets. Alex, what do you like for best bet?
Yeah, let's ride this hot trend with the new coach. You got Detroit Red Wings and taking on the Winnipeg Jets, and you got first period over 4-0 since McClellan has taken over. Let's go for 5-0 hopefully here. Minus 118 at FanDuel is the best price I'm seeing for that with Detroit Winnipeg first period over as my Saturday best bet.
All right, there we go. I think we're going to have a best bet of one leg of each of these because you can cash the first period over, Detroit Winnipeg, Alex's best bet, and then hopefully you can ride on over and cash my best bet, which is Detroit Winnipeg full game over. 5.5. I like this price. Over 5.5, minus 120. And I like the first period over too. Like I said, 4-0 with McClellan since he's been there. First period over, 4-0 full game over. And Winnipeg, I think, comes out too with something to prove offensively. And as we saw in the Columbus game, we've seen definitely an uptick for Detroit's offense, and their power play has been better. Defense is still a work in progress. Goaltending is still night to night with Lyon and Talbot and whoever else they throw in there can be a little dicey. So I think 5.5, very cheap given the circumstances. Detroit, Winnipeg over 5.5, minus 120 for my best bet here for this Saturday NHL card. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Hit the like button. We appreciate it very much. And again, tomorrow we're on the air again, noon Eastern. And a reminder, Monday we're back to 2 p.m. Eastern. So starting on Monday, the shows will be 2 p.m. Eastern once again. So we're back to the old Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday, Sunday, noon Eastern format with the show moving
extra
forward.
Hour of sleep. I love it.
I was going to say Alex is thrilled about that. Exactly. Especially on a Monday coming off the weekend, no doubt. So we're back to 2 p.m. Eastern on Monday. And again, we got 3 betcasts coming up this month. January 14, January 21, January 28. 3 betcasts here in the month of January. Definitely looking forward to it. 2 of them Patreon exclusive. So again, patreon.com/Ice Guys, $10 per month. This is the time when the content ramps up too. So again, the perfect time to get on board on the Patreon page for the back half of the regular season. And I do want to, someone asked me again yesterday, and I will stress this once again. We will be here for you for the Four Nations face-off.
Yeah.
We will be here for you. We will have shows. We'll break down every game. We will not be taking the entire NHL break off. We're watching the Four Nations face-off. We're excited about it. We'll be betting it. And for that reason, we will have Four Nations face-off betting shows throughout that tournament. So stay tuned for that. We will be here for you.
I don't know like the excited part, but yeah, we will be watching and betting.
Some of us will be. Anyway. Some of us will be anyway. All right. A reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday and Sunday, noon Eastern. And if you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and more. Download the Ice Guys podcast if you can't watch the show live. For Alex B. Smith, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Saturday. Enjoy the games and good luck. And we will be back with you tomorrow on Sunday, noon Eastern, for another edition of the Ice Guys.